Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr.Lamba's Awakening Call. We are entering into a new era, or rather, should say, we have already entered. And in this era of uncertainty, national security has changed its meaning. It's no longer about protecting the state against adversaries. It's no longer only the borders. Of course, they are important. But the threats to the national security are changing, and the conventional thinking is no longer valid as far as meeting those security threats is concerned. And Canada, at least, is mired in the conventional thinking, as are some other countries like India. But let's concentrate on Canada today, which is oblivious to the changing security threats. Of course, these security threats are so different that some of them are common to most of the countries and some of them are specific. Imagine the world in which an invisible virus born on the air, reaching across the continents and oceans, moving freely among the people, disrespecting borders and ideas of state sovereignty will mark the most profound shake-up of thinking about the national security. As a matter of fact, a new age dawned in 1945, the atomic age, and the national security concept received a lot of upheaval at that time. But now there's a second change where bioterrorism, along with the cybersecurity, is important. So we have now, as I said earlier, entered into an era of national security. It's not just about protecting the state against armies or armed incursions or even the internal agitations and insurrections, mutinies. It is against dangers that have a direct impact on the lives of the people, the life and the property of the people. Is in danger of being destroyed, causing fear, sense of insecurity, a sense of being incapable of action. The vectors of these threats are new, they're different, and they do not represent the menacing face of the armies in the war, the shadowy artifice of the traditional spy, or the low-tech threat of terrorism. They're gone. The new threat comes to us straight out of the digital environment and unleashed out of the natural world. That's the problem. Digitally enabled threats take aim at the precious resources. And those resources are no longer the gold and the uranium sands, but they're our data, our economy, our research, the fundamentals of democratic setup. They rob us and bend the truth as more of our economy is digitally enabled. And if it's digitally enabled, the tag is to make it digitally disabled. And that is the security threat. Natural hazard from climate change, global spread of serious infectious diseases threatens livelihood and lives of the people across the country. Think about the national security in Canada has long been a preserve of a small cadre of the federal government officials, very small, and even smaller elements of civil society. If you look at the Israel, for example, where out of 11 million people, 9 million people are in the armed forces, and each one of them considers, even when they are not in armed force, to be part of the army, and not only against the armed insurrection, But innovation, look at this, there's totally Iron Dome. So this preserve of small cadre of federal officials is seven, and national security organization like CSIS and army are profoundly disconnected from each other. There's no connectivity. It's not a subject taught in the colleges and the schools, in the universities, where the future generations of the leader, and what happens then? They emerge as innocents, useless, as far as the security is concerned. National security has rarely penetrated public debate. How many people talk of the issue of the national security? They'll talk of racism, they'll talk of inter-provincial trade barriers, they'll talk of minority appeasement, they'll talk of the white supremacy, which is not there at all. But they will rarely talk of the national security. It's never featured in the election campaign. I'm amazed. And the only specifically sees the headlines, and it happens only at the time of scandal. So this new environment in which we live, what is happening must change. The parameters must change. The government, political parties, civil societies must immediately take a right about turn to a new understanding of what national security means and how threats are supposed to be met. We have in India and in Canada a long way to go to embrace this new and disquieting understanding of the national security. Yet, our collective future depends on it. Now, coming to Canada, for example, again, the National Security and Intelligence Committee of the Parliamentarians, very important group, presented its 2020 annual report. And this is devoted to analysis of national security threats facing Canada. When I had a look at the report, I was said happy. When I browsed through the report, I was shocked. There was zero attention to specific pandemic or biosecurity threat. Zero, zero. There was zero mention of the climate change security impacts. There was zero mention of the economic security. What is happening? This National Security and Intelligence Committee of the Parliamentarian is supposed to be very capable, but does its capability only extend to NORAD? It doesn't go to the economic invasion of Canada by the Chinese. It doesn't go to the fact that Arctic is being taken over by Russia and China, and Canada is being supplanted. So this was one report. And then the second report was by CSIS. Now, this report of the National Security and Intelligence Committee is a cornerstone of the Liberal government's efforts to create a much stronger system of review for our security agencies. But as I said, this 2020 annual report is wanting and lacking in exhaustive, complete, and pervasive analysis of the national security threats facing Canada. I do not deny that by itself it might be a laudable endeavor, but the thinking is conventional. It has failed to look at the sufficiently forward-looking new avenues or the new threats which are just waiting on the horizon. And the committee discussed itself to five threats. A, terrorism, good. Espionage and the foreign interference, malicious cyber activities, major organized crime, and weapons of mass destruction. Undoubtedly, all these are major threats. But look at this list and you are see the conceptual problem. To give priority to the terrorism threat is a legacy thinking. That threat is very minor. It is there, I don't deny it. But to give it a priority number one is mistaken. Espionage and foreign interference are distinct problems, and they can be not be meshed together. And this committee has just meshed them together. Organized crime comes into national security picture only in very specific manifestations. It's a law and order problem. It's not a security threat. But what is more missing is that's my concern. Pandemic and biosecurity threat. Nobody has talked of coronavirus as a biosecurity threat, climate change security impacts, economic security, 5G. Do we mention of that? And every day we are denuded by the advertisements that now 5G has come up, radios has come up. And point is, where does it go? You are for sale, as a matter of fact. I actually am putting up an article tomorrow that you're already sold. So this missing of the pandemic and the biosecurity threats, etc., is a problem. Now, this was the first report, which, as I told you, is absolutely half-hearted attempt at identifying the real issues. Now come to the Canadian Security Intelligence report. And picture of the national security threat environment is here by CSIS based on the lawful mandate. And that does not include a clear security mission regarding the pandemic or climate change. The CSIS report of 2020 is definitely much better than that of the parliamentary committee. It's clear from the report that CSIS has talked of the threat to the Canadian economic security, including those that emerged in the biopharma sectors during the early months of COVID-19. This biopharma is going to be a major threat to all the countries of the world. And it's good that CSIS has recognized it, but the national parliament is oblivious. Likewise, troubling state-sponsored disinformation campaign. Now, this is one of the major things. When a foreign government sponsors disinformation campaign, and it doesn't appear on the radar of the security agency, it's a dangerous sign. But CSIS has understood it, and counterintelligence has been the pillar of the CSIS operation, is now focused beyond espionage. Espionage is what continues. When the history started, spies were there. They were there. You have got to stop them. But you have got to go beyond that. Information which doesn't observe any borders, especially in this age of digital availability of all information, that has got to be checked up. But we are not doing it. Now, CSIS mandate places squarely in the fight against violent extremism. But unlike National Security Intelligence Committee report, it does not make terrorism as a top item in the picture of threat environment. Now look, two prime agencies, and each has a different objective. For one, terrorism is the one. The other, terrorism is not there. How do you reconcile? Until and unless there's a clarity of thinking at the top level and there's a synergy in the organizations, you cannot protect the country. And CSIS is working alongside the communication security establishment. It is trying to understand and counter cyber threats. However, it doesn't have pandemic security mission. It's not in the mission at all. So what can they do? So it's up to the government to change the mission of these organizations. For example, when Trump was there, we had a discussion and he set up the Space Force. They're the first country to do it. So we have got to embrace these missions clearly. And when it comes to the national security, the past is not a prologue. Let's forget it. Past is over. It's not a prologue. The present is moving very fast. And the future is hard to get a grip on. But here is a prediction: the comfortable and time honored habit of treating national security as far removed from public discourse are erasing it from politics is over. You cannot keep the security concerns confidential any longer, and then you should not. This is the biggest problem: transparency to your own people and to the foreigners, the enemies. They should be aware you're wide awake. As a matter of fact, a pose, a confidence is very important to protect yourself. When your opponent knows that you are ready for the bioterrorism and you'll be repaid hundredfold, they will think twice. Hamas could throw 3,500 rockets. Result: 35 of Israelis killed. That's it. More than 350 Palestinians killed. So Palestine knows that they'll be hit hard. So we have got to move fast. And what they say, used to say the proverb, catch time for the forelock. Hey, catch the security threat by the forelock. The 2015 federal election in Canada is there when the conservatives stumbled, basically. They were not sensible enough. They opposed the anti-terrorism legislation, but they forgot of a much larger debate. And today we need a debate on living safely, prosperously, and democracy. The next federal election campaign will be one when the party must prepare coherent, plausible, acceptable vision of the national security and argue them in the public. And it's up to the public also to ask questions about the security concerns. Why is it that the only port, Churchill, was closed down by the Liberal government? Only port in the Arctic. It was closed down. It's no longer working. Why is it that we are not exploiting Arctic? Why is it that we are allowing the commercial concerns of China, who have connectivity with the intelligence services, to operate here freely without any let and go? Why is it that we are permitting the refugees to come without proper screening, depending only on either no information or part information provided by the agency? And why can't we close it? And we have seen, for example, the recent pro-Palestinian demonstration. We clearly saw Hitler being glorified. That's a security threat. Every action would have an equal and opposite reaction. So when Benifit said it, they were right. Then what the is government doing? So security threats are now manifold. Defense has always been there. It will continue to be there. Defending borders is a must. But much more than defending the border is defending your institutions, B, your economy, C, the health of the people, and not only the physical health, but the mental health of people. So the misinformation doesn't percolate and make them susceptible to the foreign invasions. Is any Johnny sitting in Ottawa listening? And if they are not, they better do now. Thank you.